Got some really cool postcards that came in this week. I want to show you. So this week on eBay, I found a postcard collection, I guess, in a book, like a photo album, like a postcard album. And this has been a way I've one of my strategies recently for finding stuff that maybe the competition is not looking for as much, because I do buy and sell a lot of postcards, and I'm looking for better quality ones, obviously, and more unique ones. And so I came across a photo album that had around 300 or so postcards in it, and I did spend right around $300. So it was about $1 a card, which is pretty high. If I buy bulk, I'd like to get it down to 20 cents a card, 15 cents. It's getting much harder to do anymore. But in this album, there were a bunch of real photo postcards, as I have in a stack here. A large number of battleship, cruise ship, various types of ship-related cards. Then I had a handful that just sort of were all over the map, kind of different ones. I've kind of got these here. This little group are ones that I think have individual resale value. So, and then we had one Halloween postcard in it, which was cool. That's probably a $35, maybe $40 at the most card. We'll talk about that and show that, and I'll tell you exactly how I plan on going about selling these. Let's start with the most obvious one. This is the one that I may be surprised. It may not have the most value of all of them, but it has the most obvious value, because these old Halloween postcards, these vintage antique ones, carry pretty good values. They're always going up too. This is just like a little boy. It says, if Halloween were just weren't at night, it wouldn't be so scary, quite. So you got a little bit of a rhyme scheme going there. You got Pumpkin's a kid, and then some initials right here for the artist. And I'm sure if I looked up this card, I could find. The downside on this is that there's some discoloration from time. You have a crease here that's not the worst in the world, but on the corner some damage. The back, however, looks pretty darn good, and the corner crease is a little bit more obvious back here, but it's embossed. Good condition. I wouldn't take less than $30 for that. That's going to go individually, and then this stack here is going to be sold either as one large lot, or my guess is I'll probably split it up into a couple of lots. I will probably take all of the real photo postcards, like this one, of a ship, and in this case it says the name of the ship. I'll probably take all of those out. This one's a 1935 postcard, obviously from Southampton. This is from Europe. It's got a 1 penny European stamp there. I'll take these, and I'll probably put these ones that are similar, that have maybe the name of the ship, the type, and I'll put those like steamships or various things together. Got another one here. So these will go, and so people who collect postcards for ships will be interested. I'll probably draw that same type of buyer. Here is it says HMS Warspite, around at Prussia Cove, Cornwall, 1947. So Cornwall again in Europe there, and it has this interesting Land's End stamp, kind of not like a postal stamp, but like an ink stamp on it. And look at that. That's sad to see this discoloration is from probably a combination of moisture and then mold. It's definitely musty smelling. It was probably in some sort of a cardboard box in like a garage or someplace where there was just like an increased amount of moisture. It luckily didn't affect really the look of on the top of the card, but the back obviously you can see. And then we have some other ones that are like artist representations of boats. Maybe I'll put some of those together. But there's definitely a collector base that search for and want to collect specific ships. People who collect wartime ones of like warships. Other people collect like Titanic postcards, and then others steamships and the like. So there are maybe some interesting types of boats here, and I don't know enough about the different types of boats to know when there's certain number of masts or this or that, because I'm not a boater. But I'll put these in probably 2 or 3 different lots and sell them that way. This is the lot that I kind of put together that are all sort of, I don't know yet how I'm going to sell these, if I'm going to try. I think some of them I'll put together, as you'll see, they'll be similar, but others might have standalone value. I find this one an interesting card. Now, I've seen cards that have incorporate the hands reaching out to one another or even shaking hands as a sign of peace or unity or that sort of thing, friendship, hands across the sea. And so you've got a man's hand and a woman's hand with a dress. I don't know who that's supposed to represent exactly. Maybe the United States and Great Britain. I'm not quite sure. These two will go together, and you'll see the obvious reason why. So even though one is a Happy New Year card and one is a birthday card, and they have different, they're similar, obviously, made by the same manufacturer, but what's most interesting is this symbol at the top, which I don't exactly know. I think I heard that it was originally maybe a Native American symbol that represented good luck. I might be wrong on that, but you've got this strange thing incorporated here. So when you see this symbol, even though this is the original symbol, oftentimes people think of Nazi Germany and the symbol for the Nazis, which is derivative of this symbol, but it's the opposite direction. This is supposed to mean good luck, but what's so strange about it is that if you think of Halloween or you think of bad luck, crossing paths with a black cat is supposed to be bad luck. So you've got a black cat that in one place in the world or places in the world and at certain time periods in the world would represent bad luck, but then you have it right next to a symbol that actually is supposed to mean good luck. So it's interesting how these things change over time, and I will likely sell those together. We have a few others that could also be sold together or individually, some artist-signed postcards. Come across these quite a bit. There are a lot of these out there, and so I don't expect them to bring super high values. Women, kind of Victorian era looking women. Here's another one with a ship. In fact, I could put that with the ships if I wanted to. This one as well. But this is, you've got the Antarctic Ocean here, it says, North Cape, West Victoria. And this is like a table salt, I guess, advertisement. And the top it says East Japan. So you've got north, south, east, and west represented on this card. It's called a pictorial postcard. I've never seen one exactly like that, so it may have some value. Here is, again, an artist signed. This is essentially a piece of art that has been reprinted and mass-produced for postcards. Drawing tremendous crowds. This is sort of like your antique humor postcard. I like the script on that on the back. June 4th, June 24th, but I don't actually know the year. I don't see that on the stamp. And then here are a bunch that are sort of, I guess, a combination of representation of like World War I life of people in the military, but with sort of this attempt at humor flair here. And you got, again, the artist here at the bottom's signature. And I've got several of these represented together. So these will go likely in a lot. I don't really know a whole lot about these, and I've not researched them yet. Here's another couple of ship ones. So I actually, I don't know. I think I put these in here because they are similar. But again, these could be put in with the ships as I showed you before. And then here's even some other ones. A speeding bullet coming after someone. Here's one that has like a woman pouring some sort of a drink for a man who's the soldier's dream. Such an interesting look back into the past. These old postcards. Not just representing a place and time, but like specific events that shaped history. And like we look at it through our own lens today at what it means to us now. But at the time, this meant something very different to the people who made it, and also the people who were sending it to family and friends. And then one more here, Hands Across the Sea. This probably would end up going with this because of the same idea here. Yep, and again, this is that's a Canadian stamp, so maybe this is meant to represent Canada and the United States. These will all be sold individually because they are real photo postcards. However, I have them in the stack because they do not necessarily represent something that's terribly uncommon or unique. You've got, in this case, a group of people sitting together, family or friends. You've got a woman standing in front of her home or a home that she's at. Here's one just of somebody's home. And then you have various ones that maybe were made in a studio, just photographs of people turned into postcards. Here's another one. This looks like perhaps some sort of, fraternal type of an organization, or perhaps this is like an academic setting here where people are graduating, but I'm not exactly sure. You see sort of like robes, and they don't all wear the same types of hats, so I'm not quite sure what's happening here. Does it say? Junior concert, 1917. So maybe they were musicians or singers. That is kind of cool. Some of these, like this, I don't really know what's going on here. This is supposed to be comedic, but I don't know who these people are. It's a 1920 scene. It's clearly made in a studio. You've got the drop cloth in the back behind him. He's pointing at his hat, and I don't know what that's supposed to be representing exactly. Here's men, at like a sawmill. They've got hand saws, and they're cutting timber and doing various things. This white part on the ground, however, it seems to blend in with the all of the sawdust and chips and things. However, what this actually is on the top, if I can show you this reflection, is just damage. This is flaking of the portion of the top of the photo that holds that image on. And so I'm going to have to make sure I remember to mention that so that people don't think that that's part of the picture and get it and realize that it's actually damaged. There's more here. A really crisp, the photography on some of these is absolutely incredible. Given the fact that, back then it was all done by hand. It was all manual. They had to know exactly what distance to be at, and they had to know that exact aperture based on the amount of light and all of that. So some of these I'm quite impressed with the quality of the photos. And then I've got several of these. This is some sort of parade, and you can see up at the top here you've got representation of it. Looks like maybe the Madonna and Jesus, or perhaps some sort of, I don't exactly know what this parade is for. It doesn't say, but I've got one like that. Here is another one. Oh, it says something here at the bottom. What does that say? Oh man, Ignatius? Possibly? But again, look at this representation. And I don't know if this is like some sort of put on by like the church, a liturgical church would be my guess, perhaps a Catholic church. Saint Ignatius. I need to look up Saint Ignatius and find out what's going on and why they were having parades for Saint Ignatius, if that's a patron saint for something. That'd be interesting. But anyhow, all of these have some value. I don't know exactly. I'm going to have to just sort of put them on auction and let the real world dictate the price, because I don't know. Oftentimes these real photo postcards may be the only one left in existence. Some men in some military regalia, and here's just kind of like a sunset scene off of the edge of a warship, and so on. Here's some cards that I think have some decent value. Never seen one like this before, but this is children out in some sort of square, and right here is a puppet show happening. And right here is a puppet. And so these kids have gathered around watching some sort of puppet show, and you can see the faces of these kids having such a good time watching it. I think that's a really fun and cool one. Here's one of some boxers. I've actually never bought or come across ones of actual boxers, and in this lot were two. This one's Joe Beckett and George Carpentier, Famous Boxers series. This was Jay Beagles. company. I'm not sure. Printed in England, it says. Here is an interesting one of what I'm guessing are men from the military. But you can see they've got some significant medals on them. And then this gentleman has a little dog sitting on his lap. I'll have to do a little bit of research to see if I can find other photos like that to determine where these men are from. Let's see if there's something on the back here. At the Mardi Hotel with his dog. It's saying who the people are. Let's see. Before it was at the Sea of North of Scotland. Interesting. So I'll have to do some research on that. But I thought that was sort of interesting. This one's very wild. Look at these outfits. You've got this person and this person with looks like a cannon behind them, dressed up almost like a clown, but like look at all of these different outfits. This one's just frightening looking. A big beard. What is this for? Was this some sort of like play? Is this supposed to be Halloween? I have no clue, and there's no indication at all on the back of it. But for a real photo postcard, that's wild. Here is a man and a woman, and they are holding rifles. I just thought that was cool. Also with the fun little, kind of 1920s stenciled looking kind of border there to make it look like it's sitting in a picture frame already. Thought that was unique. Some more military men, and it says Post Office Rifles. 1907 maybe? 1901? I'm not sure, but you see these guys with their pipes and their cigarettes hanging out of their mouths. Not sure where that came from. Here's some girls, and I don't know if this is like, was there a wedding happening? Was there a funeral happening? Was this, was there a baptism? I'm not exactly sure. But these girls are all dressed up with these bouquets of flowers and large crosses. This one is cool because it's a wedding. Looks like the man and woman here are married, and they just got married. And then you've got all the families and friends represented as well. It's sad that we have some sort of errors in the printing of this postcard. As you can see here, this happened in the dark room. My guess is this would be, you see this sometimes, and I've also had multiples of pictures before, some that are like this and others that are much clearer. And so if you know the process of developing black and white photographs in a dark room, sometimes the first one you do is trying to determine how dark or how light to do it, like how long to expose it or not. And there can be other things in the chemical process based on when you're putting it through developer or whatever else that can cause some of this on the outside of it. And usually they do a couple to correct it. This is the type of thing that if I did, I'd probably throw away and just do more. But somebody ended up with it, and they never sent it. But I think it's interesting because it's children and nurses, and then you've got a person right here looking over in the hospital, or in hospital, as they say in England. Here we have a bunch of men in what I'm guessing is a factory, and where they are, I'm assuming these are missiles. I'm assuming these are bombs. And so I think that's fascinating. I'm guessing this is like World War I era, because I believe this is likely from the teens. Here is one, West End Lads. So my guess is this is a college photograph of a bunch of men, maybe in a graduating class, from West End. Trying to see what it says there. What does it say? I'm not quite sure. But it was a cool card nonetheless. Here is another photograph where there's a gathering, and in this case, my guess is that this is a funeral, rather than a wedding. There's people wearing dark, also in light, and it almost looks like they've intentionally put the dark on one side and the light on the other. And I don't know, but this might be a wedding. I mean, you've got kids with baskets and flowers, so maybe it is. You've got a bunch of things here on the ground as well. I'm not quite sure what happened here. In fact, dear Sally, never heard anything from you. New photo, body, expect you. Mabel married last week. Okay, so Mabel. It was a wedding, and it's from Mabel. Always look on the back, folks. I should have done that ahead of time, huh? Very cool shot here. Kids dressed up, maybe like Revolutionary War days, kind of like that sort of dress. I'm not sure exactly why they're here. However, she's wearing some sort of a ribbon with a cross on it. She is as well. So is this some sort of preparation for a parade? In fact, it looks like there are two poles here, and they are holding some sort of banner. I'm not quite sure what is up there, and we will never know. But that I think that's a cool card. This is also very interesting. A bunch of women dressed in, I guess you would call it maybe a traditional or a stereotypical dress from perhaps Japan or that area. Also with their hair done in a certain way, and these fans that were sort of traditional from maybe created from that area of the world. I don't know why. And you look at all these little paper lanterns that are hanging from the ceiling too. I think that's really cool to see that. And also just the decor. They're clearly on a stage, I believe. And so maybe there was some sort of play or something happening, and they were posing in that space. Lukus, or Yukus, the Zulu white sacred monkey from the Clifton Zoo. So the gentleman here holding a white monkey. That's fascinating. A few more today. Look at this motley crew. We're all posing with our cigarettes. You've got the lone woman in the center here. Hands crossed and folded. You got a child up here. You got another one poking in. Hey, just wanted to get in that photo. Standing outside. I just think it's cool. The bow ties, the hat situation, the dress is just so interesting because it's so different than the way that we're commonly dressing today. Here is that other boxing postcard that I showed you, and I have no idea what type of values these are going to come, but I'm going to look up Postcard Famous Boxers series because I want to know if these are selling and what they're selling for. But definitely interesting. The other one was an actual simulation of a match. This is just an individual fighter. And then last up here today, we have this also very interesting shot, which I believe is probably either some sort of a thing for, again, it was either they were going into a parade for some reason, or they were trying to represent different places in the world or different time periods in history. You've got this one banner here that looks like it says maybe Canada. And so maybe, I don't know, you've got someone dressed up like a Native American here. You have someone dressed up like a cowboy. You have someone dressed up as a knight. You have women dressed up, I don't know, maybe the Middle East stereotypically. I'm not really sure. Here he's got like a big fur coat on, top hat. I really don't know, but I think this is fascinating. No information. What is it? Oh, Essex Empire Day, ? I have no idea what Empire Day is or what they do to celebrate Empire Day. So I'm going to have to do some research on that. But if anybody has any ideas on any of these, the way that they're celebrating certain events, please leave a comment, not just for me, but for anybody else who's interested. Well, that's it for today, folks. I hope you find some cool stuff out there, and we'll see you again next week.